Jordan Alexander. I'm a paramedic with Daisy Mountain Fire Department, and today we're going to go over the ambulance truck check. To begin our truck check, we're going to start with the engine compartment. You'll open it by pulling this lever here. You'll see a lever that you need to pull to the left to lift the hood. And climb up for better access. First, we're going to check our engine oil. This is best checked when the engine is cool or has been turned off for at least 30 minutes. We're going to pull our dipstick out, cleaning it on the first pull, and sliding a clean dipstick back in. On our second pull, we're going to visualize that the fluid is on the dipstick within our safe ranges. Next, we're going to check the transmission fluid using the same method with the dipstick. This one is a little bit harder to secure back in place. On our second pull again, we're checking that our fluids are within the normal ranges. This fluid is best checked when the engine is on. Next, we're going to check the brake fluid reservoir. We're going to visualize that the fluids are within the maximum and minimum levels, tapping to try to see fluid movement so you can visualize it best. Next, we're going to check our coolant. We're going to look again for the maximum and minimum levels to make sure our fluids are within ranges, tapping as needed to see fluid movement. Next, we're going to check our power steering fluid at the maximum and minimum levels, tapping as needed. Next, we're going to check our windshield wiper fluid to ensure that it's full. Last, we're going to visualize our battery, looking for any frayed or loose wires or any visible corrosion. And that is the check for our engine compartment. We just went over the engine compartment for our older style Ford and our Dodge models. There are some differences with our newer style engine compartments on our Fords. The biggest difference is that the newer Fords do not have a transmission dipstick in the engine compartment. That'll be checked regularly by our mechanics. You're always going to start with your engine oil. Clean your dipstick. Ensuring the levels are within the maximum and minimum ranges. You can fill your oil right here if need be. This is when you would typically check your transmission levels, but again, there's no dipstick available in the engine compartment to do so. Next, you're going to check your brake fluid within the maximum and minimum lines. Then the coolant reservoir between the maximum and minimum lines. There's a secondary reservoir located on the other side. You could check your maximum and minimum levels. Next, we'll check our power steering fluid within the maximum and minimum levels, tapping as needed. Our windshield wiper fluid, making sure it's full. Then you're going to visualize both batteries to ensure there's no frayed wiring or corrosion. And a general look over your engine compartment to make sure there's no disconnected tubing. And that completes the engine check on our newer model Fords. Next, we're going to do our 360 exterior inspection. You're going to turn on the ride, activate the high beams, the hazards, and the code 3 lights. to start at the front of the ride. I'm gonna get nice and low and check to see if the ride is leaning one way or another. And as I make my way around the vehicle, I'm gonna visualize that all lights are working appropriately and that there isn't any new body damage to the vehicle. Next, we're going to inspect our tires. We want to check our wheels and lug nuts to make sure there's no damage, they're all present and tight. Then we want to look at the condition of the tire, looking for any bulging or punctures. Then we'll check that we have adequate tread depth. We want to look between the dually tires to make sure there's no rocks. And then we're going to check our tire pressure. You'll find the normal tire pressure limits in the driver's side door frame. Then you want to look under the frame of the vehicle, checking for any bending or warping, any shiny metal that might indicate rubbing, and any fluid leaks. That's going to complete our 360 exterior check. Next, we're going to do our cab check. You want to first look at the seat belts and upholstery for any fraying or tearing. Then you're going to check your steering wheel for any excessive play and that the steering column is moving appropriately. Then we're going to check our gauges, looking at the coolant temp, the transmission temp, and the oil pressure. We want to ensure that the depth gauge is above half and that our fuel gauge is full. Then we're going to make sure that our windshield wipers are working appropriately. You want to visualize the windshield, looking for any chips or cracks. Then you want to adjust your mirrors as needed. Finally, we're going to check our horn and sirens. That completes the cab check. Next, we're going to check off the back of the ambulance. You're going to check your heart monitor, as well as the boxes and any equipment in the cabinets to ensure that they're within working order and within their expiration date. You'll locate the cell phone next to the captain's seat and the Knox key in the drug box. Then you're going to check your outside cabinets for your flashlights, and if you're on a rescue, you're going to check off your firefighter equipment and tools. In the cab of the ambulance, you're going to check off your radios to make sure those are in working order, as well as checking that the registration and insurance and the fuel card are present. You're also going to make sure that your passport is updated. That completes the EMS equipment. Now we're going to check off our HUD's display. This panel controls the interior climate of the ambulance. You can adjust the AC as needed. Our ventilation for the back of the ambulance. Our oxygen whenever we need to utilize it. The vacuum button activates suction. And our interior lights, which should be turned on if the back doors are going to be closed. Then we're going to check our interior for cleanliness and decon, make sure you're ready for operations for the day. Then we'll check the left side of the apparatus for our stair chair, which will be located right over here. Want to make sure our stair chair is present and in working order. Now that we have completed our truck check, we're going to go over some troubleshooting and things you might need to know about the ambulance. First, at times when all the doors are locked, the apparatus will lock itself If you are stuck on the outside, there are buttons located in possibly 2 different places depending on the ambulance. On this rig, right under the grill here, just slightly to the left, there's a button that'll unlock the system. On our other apparatus, it's located next to the license plate. As I mentioned before, you'll notice the lights turn off when the doors close on the inside. You want to get in the habit of using the HUD panel to turn on the interior lights when you arrive on scene prior to patient contact, so that when the patient is loaded in the back and the doors are closed, the lights remain on. You may run into the problem where the button at the end of the gurney does not release the gurney. You can manually release the gurney by lifting this red lever and pulling the gurney out. If you find that the arms of the gurney mount are stuck in the upright position, you can press this hydraulic release button, hold it in, and force the arms of the gurney down. You'll notice that when you open the back doors of the ambulance back will drop. This is called the dump feature. Sometimes you'll run into the problem where the back of the ambulance does not dump. To fix this, you'll first start by coming to the dump override button. I find this works best when you double tap it. If the button does not work, we then typically close the doors and reopen them again to see if that'll activate the dump process. If that does not work, there is a dump system in the front of the ambulance that we can use. You'll want to utilize this system as your last resort. You'll try first to just lower the height, hopefully dumping the back of the ambulance. If for some reason that does not work, you can turn off the dump system, turn it back on, and try lowering the height again. If none of these solutions have worked and the gurney wheels still do not reach the ground, we can remove the gurney from the mount manually. You're going to start by hitting the hydraulic release button until the weight is removed, gently pulling the arms down, and using the red lever on the back till the lights blink yellow. You might need a few people to help safely remove the gurney from the mount. Lastly, we're at station 145 to change our main O2. You're going to change the oxygen tank on the ambulance when it dips below 500 psi. You'll open this compartment. You'll use this lever to pull it out. You'll make sure that the oxygen tank is completely closed. You'll locate the wrench in the compartment to remove the hose. You'll loosen the bolts for full access. Loosen these straps. And with help, you'll have someone help you lift the tank off the platform to replace it with our new bottle. You'll know that this new oxygen tank is full if it has the tape here. You're going to lift this tank onto the platform, remove the tape, and then reverse the steps, making sure the valve is completely open to secure it inside. And you'll have a new full oxygen bottle on the ambulance. That concludes our ambulance check-off and troubleshoot video. If you have any additional questions, talk to your crew and have a great shift.